down the chute into the basement. And that's where it gets stuck. We'll see that after a while. Here we go. Here's John. Here's Johnny. The kids are in the hayloft. Come on, let us know what's going on in there. Say hello.
Hello.
There's Andrew and Rachel and Erica and Josh. Back there's Chris. Way up there is Sarah.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi there, cutie. Look what we got here. Okay, go ahead and play. Thank you. So that we can stack it up. What?
You need to get a better strip.
A strip of what?
All right, let's go. Start.
Some wood. Elizabeth. Hello. And Tim. Look at that strong guy. Yay. What? Oh, yes. Oh. This is work. This is work. Okay, what do we got back here? Oh, look at those workers.
Back here?
Carolyn and Mary.
Deb, can you get it in the dark back here?
Well, we're going to try.
Why don't you put that camera down and come out by
Well, yeah, a little while.
Faust wanted you to get some pictures of the kids in that barn.
Oh, I did. I read her mind.
I want to do this part.
And our ace roving reporter.
Yes, you bet.
Kermit.
The mini cam.
I'm still more creative.
Well, this is what this is all about today. Stacking it up. Youngest and the oldest.
She likes you.
Here's Grant, direct from the Tri-Cities. Not to mention Sandpoint. Is that where you guys live now?
No, it isn't.
Lee?
Diamond Lake. No.
Diamond Lake?
Diamond Lake.
I'm sorry, my mistake.
Sandpoint is
Say hello to the camera.
40 miles.
Yeah, we came from
Lakaya.
Sandpoint, and I was thinking, good
Marge.
Did you take the road going by the river?
And here's Elizabeth, the smiling face.
Sorry, Debbie.
What?
There's no Kimberly here today.
Kimberly?
Okay.
Why we looked up somebody in
She had to stay in Richland.
Sandpoint.
Oh,
This is on tape.
this is on tape. Should stay in
The
Richmond.
college mates of ours is
There we go.
Hi, Grant. You got some sun.
Yeah, a little bit. Had a couple of weeks. Our color coordinated and everything.
Yes.
I was reading this poem.
Oh, there's Carolyn looking on the sliver. Hello.
It's called a warm. It's called a warm.
There's that baby again.
We need to get this thing back further. Rod?
Hi, guys.
Oh, we got another camera crew here. I love it.
What's that?
I gotta back it. Let me back it up further.
Okay.
Go over here and look at Grandma's garden. This way.
You need to direct me. I can't.
Hello. Awful close to me, isn't it? Look at the garden.
And there's the chicken house in the background.
And the barn.
And the barn.
There's Cindy and Marie. And all of the clan. Smile pretty. Look into the camera. Oh, there's Lee.
Oh, you must go bye-bye? Go bye-bye? Ma'am, bye-bye? Okay, here you go.
She couldn't get your smartphone.
Oh, yeah?
She's doing it.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, leans in one arm, hangs the other one just as limp as...
Oh, hello, Chris. Smile. This is posterity talking. Okay, don't wave then.
Hi, Uncle Greg.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, that's right. We've got a number of waves today.
Only 4 of us are doing
Well,
anything.
soon she
But
will
we
be
love Grandma, so we're doing this for her.
Well, and the thing is, I have to get this on tape because I had to erase what I had before, and then I will put it down and come home. How's that? Trust me.
So your daughter's going to get in on it.
That's Tim. Okay. Oh, 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 oh.
It's really gnarly.
Oh, oh.
It's so gnarly.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh, shoo.
Da, da,
Da, da, da, da, da, da, da.
Rocky. Oh, yeah. Loggy.
Yes.
This is Loggy 25.
Yes.
No, it's
Store date.
Revenge of the Tick. Revenge of the Tick. Revenge of the Woodchuck.
And this is where the wood goes that we saw cutting up and being shot down the chute. And that's Chris. Smiley face. She's always wanted to be in the movies. There's Elizabeth. And Martha Todd. Getting resting from after the hard work. Say hello to the cameraman. Hello, cameraman.
You don't have to have constant frenetic motion.
Oh, yes.
Here comes the motion.
Look at that. There's some people playing. My apologies for the movement. I haven't perfected the glide yet.
They're over there in the hill. Oh, don't go out of there. Oh.
Need to make coffee, or is that full?
Here's a cucumber. See, notice the seeds?
Does that make sound?
Yeah, it picks up every single sound you make, including the ones I make. So let's be very, very courteous to one another.
Here's Elizabeth. You can get a cucumber.
Yes, yes.
Oh, did you see
Camera
this yummy
silence,
salad? See the yummy salad?
Oh, look at that. We eat good tonight.
This is Leah's toy.
Okay.
It's red, blue.
Thank you very much. And there's great grandma. Oh, smile for the camera.
I think I'll just put the dressing separate because here's the
Here's our plate.
You're being put on television.
well,
This is for posterity.
who's going to show it?
Oh, I suppose she will.
Yeah, we're going to make tapes of this if you'd like one. This is for posterity. Now, you of all people should appreciate that, Ruth.
Is it sound as well?
At every sound you make.
So if you speak, you can write down.
I suggest courtesy.
Don't be too blunt.
Really. And here we have
Like our city mayor.
the camera
Yes, you're
going
panning.
to the table.
Going to the table.
Yes, indeed. And here's the
Hold
clock.
the plum here.
Good. The clock from 1916. Oh, no, this is private. This is closed caption. And then behind these lovely people is the clock that Lee made
How about that?
all by himself.
That's for Elizabeth's birthday, Christmas.
You got what? I got a whole bunch of people. You and Rod and her and
Nice to see you, Margaret. They almost missed it, though. They brought. Oh. Camera running. Hello.
I didn't even know.
I don't think anybody's cried and carried on. Oh, I do. And here we have the swinging lesson.
Hey, Mom!
Then there's October. Maybe we should go by quarters. That would be good.
In the viewer. And the only way to stop it is to push that little dooley bobber over the top.
The dooley bobber.
The dooley bobber.
The dooley bobber?
Yeah.
Focus all by
All by itself. It has a setting.
There's a laser.
I don't know. Autofocus.
A lot of
it
those
says.
new ones do it. It shoots.
Christopher, you better hurry.
Run, Carly, hurry. The treasure's here.
Oh, here they come.
This way, Joel.
That was only a couple of minutes.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Look behind you. Mommy's getting No, I have to buy all the Etna. Oh, these are freebies still. These are freebies.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Whoa.
Hey, guys, hey,
That's pretty neat. Oh, and that looks like behaved right.
Let's go!
Deb?
Yeah. What? It's okay, go ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Whoop, hold up. Hold up.
It's 150 degrees out here. Let's get rolling.
Yes, full of your water.
it. Riding on the hay.
And moved everything up, the squashes and the carrots and things. The team would wagon and dumped them out by the barn, and it froze that night, froze everything solid, and all the apples that were here,
Oh.
and the water from here to the spring, everything in the house, the plants that we brought up. It was quite a move. When we moved up
And that was from when you've been down in Post Falls for a couple of years, right?
1 year.
1 year, and then you moved up here.
What month?
It was
November.
about the last of October. And that was a late freeze that year.
Mm-hmm.
There hadn't been any frost. And that rain froze. It got down to, I think, 30 below zero. It was exceedingly cold. It killed the cherry trees that were over 100 years old.
On that other place.
Yes, on that, and all over the country. You know?
Hmm.
But it didn't kill the apples, but it killed the cherry trees. The old trees. There aren't very many old ones left anymore. Of course, they're pretty old since then.
Well, so now you built this house. Was it done in 48? Is that when it was done, or 49?
Yeah, 48.
48.
So that was that winter the first buzzing? Or did you have to have wood in the other
No.
place?
I don't think we had buzzing for a few years.
We had buzzing, but it was just part of the routine
Yeah.
daily work.
Family
It
was
just-
still here.
It was a work day, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a
Now it's a
festivity.
fun day.
Yeah, I bet.
It's an event. Everybody comes and works and has fun.
Yeah. Well, all those hands.
Yeah.
And of course,
Just think, how many are there today?
when we were little kids, we weren't a whole lot of
40.
help.
Yeah, we counted up
40?
at least 40.
Oh, there's
More than that.
46 or 50.
46. 40.
46.
And there's Marie,
Oh, yes, I guess.
a voice up here in the periphery to get a picture of you.
The youngest one is Leah,
Yeah?
and the oldest one is...
Is you? I've got some footage of you holding her, so that's in the oldest and the youngest thing. When Elizabeth was a baby, she was the youngest at that time. And we got a picture of you guys together.
Your Elizabeth.
My Elizabeth. Lo, these many 11 years ago.
Well,
So how many did you figure out? 50 people today?
46.
46.
Close
I
enough.
believe 16 children.
Wow.
Yes, 16 children.
They were so funny during that treasure hunt.
One in arms and one expected.
Oh, look out here.
Aren't they
Is
coming?
it the hayride?
Oh,
Here they come. Up the hill.
In the corner.
Now we need to go out and greet them.
Yeah.
Let's find another plug. Here we come. Back from the ray ride. We got you coming and going. Smile, we had fun.
We made it! We have one reality of
What were you listening to?
I wanted to get away. She was videotaping me.
Oh.
You gotta sign your name in the book.
Oh, Mary.
Yeah, she likes that. You say hi?
Busy, yeah.
I see. I've got all kinds of tape, so we're going to get some scenery.
Yeah. Yeah. Bunch of them.
all late.
All laid up.
Howdy.
Dad's arrived with the VCR.
Oh, good. Oh, Mary, right there.
Well, then set it on the table in the living room.
Well, you gotta have the TV in there.
Oh, I'll put it in there. Well, someone will.
Yes, this is the technology discussion. Here's all the kids.
Show me how that thing works. What do you do with it? Yeah.
Don't try to fight them, man. They get mad at you and bite.
Come drive a Mazda truck.
Without any drawbacks. Chevron, we fuel your freedom.
I think it's a real treat when we're lucky enough to meet someone who intrigues us, inspires us, and makes us look forward to getting older, to see that it can be done with grace, dignity, style, and a sense of humor. I met such a woman. She's not a newsmaker. She hasn't captured the attention of folks outside her family and friends, nor does she think she's anything special. But I thought differently. For 92 years, she's been wild about life.
And most people don't get that old. And most people get old a long time before that.
Helen Rodkey is a widow. She's raised 6 children who've given her 21 grandchildren, who in turn have given her 43 great-grandchildren.
I don't think of the kids as age, just my kids. One of them is 70 years old, and the youngest one is 55. And I'm 92.
The family has spread from coast to coast now, but way back when Helen was a young mother, this piano and the music they made around it, she believes, were extremely important parts of their lives together.
This is the one piano that the whole family sang around. Music was the throb of our lives.
Now, while at the piano, her family still surrounds her in spirit and in picture frames. She's passed on her passion for music by teaching, taught here until she was 81, and quit only because she had a stroke which left her hearing off kilter. She says she wasn't much of a teacher all those years. I didn't believe her. A recent letter from a student from years ago said she did learn to play the piano.
Well, she said if I didn't learn much music, your counseling sure was good. So maybe that's what I did, I don't know. Oh.
This expert on age has definite beliefs on raising children and is thankful her 6 kids were schooled in a one-room schoolhouse.
There was no peer pressure on them. The parents had the main effect on them, influence on them. And I think it was a lot easier. We didn't have television, and that's a hard thing to battle against, I'll bet you.
She thinks many of we younger parents are maybe shirking our responsibilities by not giving our children more of them.
And I think that's important. I think not only is it important that they help, but it builds within the child itself a feeling of really being important. And I think it's important for a child to feel important.
3 of her 4 sons went on to be doctors. The other retired from the world of education here in Spokane, while her daughters followed in her footsteps in the home. The Rodkey footsteps are heavily imprinted on this land. She and her husband settled in Post Falls in 1934.
It's a long story, the man.
Takes a while to tell a stranger about 54 years of living, loving, laughing, and struggling. But the simple fact that she's living in a house built by her family from trees they cut down on their own land tells us a lot.
And not a lot of houses were built by the family that lives in it.
That's nice.
The house that Jack built.
The house that Helen's family built.
That was years ago, but to this day, new things from the simple earth continue to delight and inspire her.
We have to get down a little closer to see what I really have. I spend a lot of my time out here. I think it helps me to meet the trouble of the day and solve the problems. I forget them.
Like a small child excited by a first-time encounter with life, Helen has that childlike quality of discovery and appreciation that made me feel like I've been missing out. There really is truth to the saying, stop and smell the roses.
Smell those roses? You won't see this anywhere. I never saw one before of so many. So many, many, many. Goes down clear to the field,
Boy, isn't that something?
Isn't that great?
That's beautiful.
Of course,
She surrounds herself with the beauty of the simplest of things she's made, grown, and nurtured, and gives credit to her long, happy, healthy life to the spirit within.
Positive attitude. Interest in people, interest in things, and Christianity. I'm sure of it.
And I'm sure that sense of humor has a lot to do with it, too.
It's easier to laugh than cry. There have been a lot of times when I could have cried, too, and have. But I don't have anything to cry about now.
And on top of all that, she has a valid driver's license and hits the streets. Often.
All right. That was quite a garden she had. Does she keep that also?
She does. She's got a vegetable garden one that I couldn't take care of. About 7 or 8 different fruit trees, and she cans up the fruit trees. She has a flower garden. I thought she was quite a gal. She does it all at 92.
It was nice to meet you, Helen. Thanks.
Thank you. Diane Braun has
Racing. They'll be there at the Race of Champions.
Cultivation on the Rodkey farm south of Post Falls provides a day of rest for Helen Rodkey every Labor Day. This year, it comes with doctor's orders. But even a day of rest for the matriarch does not slow a Rodkey family tradition. 4 generations of Rodkeys are gathered here. They come to cut the wood that warms the family home in winter. Helen Rodkey's family includes 6 children. They left the farm to become physicians, scientists, educators, farmers, homemakers, and ministers of the gospel according to the Presbyterian Church. But they gather in a place from which they have never left.
The ranch itself has been a real haven for us. We've all gone through many different kinds of trials and tribulations, and yet we always knew this was here for us. It was like, well, we have a very strong faith in God. And it's like this is part of God. It's solid.
What a wonderful day.
They talk, they listen, they break bread at mealtime. Simple ingredients that continue the family growth and continue bringing the family together.
We have deliberately cultivated them and brought the people that we married and our children back to encourage them to know their cousins, uncles, grandparents. So it's very important. But it doesn't just happen. It's deliberate.
This family cultivates success and shares a family harvest.
Well, the essentials basically are hard work, honesty, courage, and faith, I would say.
Why are those such qualities in this family?
Well, I think they are passed down from generation to generation. And the children have the wit to appreciate the value, I guess. That's about the answer.
Well, I think that growth of concern and love for others that my mother has so deeply is the most important thing. It's the most important product of this farm.
Helen and Vern Rodkey planted their family and their garden here 54 years ago. Vern died in 1971, but the garden and the family grow well. Near Post Falls, Bob Bostwick, Q6 News.
I had the fortunate experience to spend some time with Helen Rodkey a couple of months ago. She's just an absolute dear, a doll, a real inspiration.
Sounds like it was a
Very
nice story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a friend.
In
She couldn't get your slide film.
Oh, yeah?
Just do it.
You got what? You got a whole bunch of people in my stomach getting you and Rod and her and nice.
I don't think of the kids as age, just my kids. Old. And the young.
He has spread from coast to coast now, but way more of them.
And I think that's important. I think not only is it important that they help, but it builds within the child itself a feeling of really being important. And I think it's important for a child.
Thank you. Diane.
And it took 7 years. So, I get what would it be that he was before, became 21 before his father got citizenship papers?
Yes.
That's right, well then he was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. And years and years later, probably 50 years or more, he wanted to take civil service exams to become a substitute mail carrier. And he found out he was a subject of Queen Elizabeth, and that just about killed him. He just loved, America. And to think he held all those public offices all through those years and wasn't even a citizen, to think he'd done that dishonestly, just about floored him when he got his citizenship papers quick, I'm telling you. But he passed the exam all right, got him. Well, he came from England. Wimple is the place. They left 2 sisters there, and he had 6 sisters and a brother that came to America, and the father and mother. I don't know for what cause they came, but I'm sure that feudalism had something to do with it.
They settled in Illinois.
Rockton.
And both of your grandparents are buried there.
That's right. And a lot of the family moved to Iowa and married and lived there. My father went farther west. He went into Kansas and went through that twin cyclone.
In
1879.
79.
And that's what's that movie made of?
Oh, Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz.
It's based on that.
It's based on
Was that right?
Before that came through, the town was a thriving town. Of course, there's no electricity and no water, no indoor plumbing or anything like that in those days. But there was a mill, and people brought their grain and had it grown. He was the miller.
Was he the miller or the millwright?
Well, I don't know, but he worked in the mill.
Okay.
I don't know. And that cyclone took the dam and took the mill. So that put him out of work. And there was a seminary there. I don't know whether it was a religious seminary, Presbyterian, I'm not sure. He took it, took the schoolhouse, and they were having a pancake supper in the Presbyterian church, the ladies ate. And they were warned, and they all rushed out, and a lot of them were caught right under the bell. They took the church, but left the tower.
You actually had a cyclone cellar at your home, didn't you?
Oh, yes, we did. And I've gone a few times, but I never saw a cyclone. They say, of course, Kansas has a reputation, but I never saw one. Now, I've sat outside with me, and she loved to watch, that's my sister. She loved to watch storms, and I've sat on the porch many a time and watched the storm go by, but we didn't have to see it. My mother came in 1880, and I told you the schoolhouse went. Of course, they had to have school, so I don't know what kind of a school it had, although I think it's the same school I went to, but they had added to later. And Vern's father went to my mother to school. In 1880, I just read in here somewhere where they came to Kansas from Indiana, the Rodkeys did in 1880.
1880.
And he went to school to her. And then the next year, my father married my mother. Cut. Well, my mother came from, she's American stock, really. She came from her Mayflower roots. And her mother's name was Allen. And she came from the Allen and the Thompson, big families at Heath.
Heath, Massachusetts.
Yeah. And she's directly descended from both Priscilla and Miles Standish, if you can get that.
And John Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the blood somewhere, both of them. Anyway, she lived to be, she was a wonderful mother, very hard of hearing. You remember that?
Oh, yes. I remember as a child how we used to scream into her ear, into her hearing thing, and she would right up the wall.
Well, anyway, she said they always thought she was considered a dummy in school because she couldn't hear very well. And that's the story of hard of hearing people. And it's sad, and I'm glad that they're beginning to waken up in our nation. That there's a lot of value behind deaf ears. A lot of value, untouched, because people are so sensitive. Well, she became a school teacher. She went to Park College. She graduated in 79, or 80 maybe.
First class, wasn't it, at Park College?
First alumni. And there were only two. And that college was formed by McAfee's, a family of McAfee's. They had quite a large family. And they started the college in their own house. And they offered my mother, trying to stop me.
No, just a squirrel sprung my trap, but he didn't get in there.
Well, anyway, she worked for her room and board, helping with the family work and the children. And then she graduated from Park College. Her mother came from Losing, Indiana, in a covered wagon. And my mother was a child in arms at the time, and they settled in Leroy, Kansas, which is southeastern part, and that everybody was farmers those days, almost. And her husband was a farmer, and eventually he got pneumonia and died. Well, there was one child born after they got to Kansas, and that was Bernice and Harold Lonsberry's mother, Mary Jane Lonsberry. And my sister, Mamie, was named for my aunt, Mary Jane. Well, anyway.
And her maiden name was Huff, H-O-U-G-H.
Yes, that's right, Huff. And I want to say that my grandmother, as a widow, I know that 3 of the children went to college. One went to Princeton, one went to Highland College, and one went to Park College, but I don't know whether the 4th one went to college or not. He moved to Phoenix and started an artificial ice plant. Those days, it was good business. And I think you better stop me.
Mother, in Irving, which doesn't exist anymore, there's just a stone marking the site of Irving. And tell us where the school was and where your home was in relation to where that stone now sits.
Well, the school was just 2 blocks exactly south of there.
Oh.
And the Presbyterian church was 1.5 blocks from there. They were just across in one block was the Presbyterian church, and in the other block was the school. And my home was the other direction. And Burns was just about a cat corner from that stone, almost.
To the northwest?
Yes. It was the second house in that block.
And from where that stone is, didn't you tell me it's about 1.5 miles east to the riverbank?
That's right.
Where? And then was that where the mill was that your dad
It
went
was,
to?
yes, it was in that direction.
Was the dam that went out in the hurricane on the Blue River? Or
Yes, it was.
It was on the Blue River?
Maybe 1/4 mile up.
Upriver.
From that bridge. Well, from that point, that stone, the gravestone, it was 1 mile to the Blue River, both east and north.
Oh. And a lot of the Rodkey land was to the north, between Blue Rapids and Irving, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. It was probably not more than 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile to their land along the riverbank. They had a lot of good people. Well, to go back to going to school, we always walked to school, always went home for lunch. I was another 1.5 blocks away from that corner. block north and a half block east. And if school spirit was very strong, and we had good schools there. I went to a school teacher, a beginning teacher, that taught there for about 30 or 33 years. She was a wonderful primary teacher. And all of us children went to school to her. All of our family did. And then she was teaching children of her students, you know, that space of time. She was a wonderful teacher. And there were 4 rooms and a bell tower, and we always rang a bell. Then you were late after the bell rang. And there were 2 sets of stairs, I believe, one at each end of the building. And high school and grammar school were upstairs, and primary and intermediate were downstairs. I taught in that school too. Mamie taught in that school. Well, that's the same school my mother taught in, only I think there were only 2 rooms when she taught. One of them was above though, and one was below, because I've heard Daddy talk about the upper room. He was in the upper room, and my mother taught the upper room. And I taught in that school. I've kind of forgotten that. I finished, I went in music. I took a last extra year after school, postgraduate year, because they had new superintendent then and an entirely new curriculum. There were only 40 in our high school.
How many people were in Irving itself?
Perhaps 200.
Perhaps 200.
But if some, I told you that I live about a block and a half farther on from that gravestone, and I had passed Vern's house to go to school. And of course he was always waiting there for me. And then when we get pretty close to the school, the whole bunch of girls would come out and grab him. And I used to get awful jealous. And they were jealous of me, you know, because I had a chance to be with him. Oh, I want to tell you about, what was it I was going to tell you?
About your hobble skirt.
Oh, yes, I was a hobble skirt age. And another thing we went to do was pick flowers. And in one of the pastures across the river, on the Rodkey farm, they owned land on both sides of the river. It was just loaded with violets. So Vern got a boat. All the family had a boat. And we rode across the river. And he stopped at one place, kind of a bank, and had a tree right close, and Craig said I'd grab a hold of it. So he let me out. But I hadn't any experience with boats, so I jumped out and grabbed the root, and I didn't quite make it. Instead, my one foot got in the water. The rest of me was out of water, all right. I was mad at my hat because he was way out in the water again. Of course, I had shoved the boat out when I jumped out. And, well, he finally got in there and helped me out. But it was my hobble skirt that kept me from jumping, you know. I could have done it otherwise, but I didn't. And then, of course, we went on to pick flowers. And, well, we graduated together and did a lot of things. We had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful superintendent, and he taught us music in the whole school, knew music real well. Oh, it was really good. And he was one of the good singers, and I was one of the singers. And so we had lots of fun together. In our graduation, by the way, they were about the first to have a car, in the town, and I remember our graduation, when we went around to get things, we used a car. That's the first time I had ever been a car.
I mean,
The Rockies had a car.
which Rockies?
His father, Grant.
His father. His Grant's father did not have a car at that time.
I don't
Great-grandfather.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. His father, his grandfather,
Yeah.
he was kind of a show-off. He used to drive through the main street of Irving in a lumber wagon and jump over the sides of that wagon onto the ground street. He was a show-off.
Well, it's good.
You want to know about how we courted?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, as I told you, I was pretty jealous when he had another girlfriend that I thought was his preference, and I had Reggie Thompson, I had plenty of boyfriends, but Reggie lost out from one, and he had married, well, we were engaged for a couple of years, and so we thought it was safer to live apart. We were engaged kind of young, 17 or 18. And we didn't want to make any mistakes, so we thought we'd better go with other people and find out for sure whether we really meant business. So he moved to Colorado. His folks moved in the meantime. He went as a cowboy to the ranch. And I went to college and taught school. And then we moved to Colorado. But I want to tell you about my wedding day. I was married in our lawn under a conifer tree that had a bittersweet vine entwining all up it and around it and made a background. Bittersweet, I thought that was pretty appropriate, and so we were married out there. And I remember my father wasn't happy that I was going to go to that God-forsaken country. Northeastern Kansas has quite a number of trees, but there are no trees out there in Colorado. He had gone out to western Kansas to a cement mill to see about maybe, I don't know, he didn't take the jobs up because he said he wouldn't move his family to that God-forsaken country. That was in western Kansas. Yosemite, that's in California, isn't it? Yosemite, I guess that was the name of the town. And so he was very sorry, and my wedding day, my room was upstairs. His was down. My folks' room was down. I remember he went to the stair door and he said, "Oh, Kathleen was wanting, oh, why art thou silent?" Oh, it was very touching. But the day was great. And we went on the motor bus on the railroad that went from Manhattan to Marysville every day. And of course, they had a Ford car with tin cans of string, 12 or 15 feet long. And the man that drove it was Webb, that was a partner of my father's in his business. And they honked the horn and went down the main street, and it was all decorated out there. And when we got down to the station, they had so much rice, and they went into the motor and passed cards all around telling everybody that we were just married and should be. And so, and there was rice, all over. Oh boy. The porter said we had to change cars in Manhattan. The porter said it'd take him a week to get rid of that rice. Well, then we went to the mountains. That's the first time I'd ever been that far from home. I told you I hadn't been out of the state of Kansas when I was married. Topeka, Lawrence, that's as far as I'd ever been. And when we went on the train, a Pullman train, just think about it. It was nice, Union Pacific. We went to Colorado Springs first, I think, and saw Flying Pikes Peak, went into the Cave of the Winds, and I saw mountain streams, the first I'd ever seen, and you know, such pure streams, this gushing water. It was beautiful.
Quite different than the Blue River, wasn't it?
Yes, and
all mud.
plains on the. And then we went to Denver.
So you had your honeymoon at the Garden of the Gods.
Well, we were there part of the time. Garden of the Gods at by
Colorado
Springs. And then we went to Denver, and we went up the Golden, what is that mountain?
It's golden. Golden is the city. It's Mount.
I don't know. But anyway.
It's Lookout Mountain.
Okay. And we also went up Georgetown Route. Now that was a narrow railroad gauge, and you went around the loop, and when you came out, when you went around that loop, you were above where you'd been below to cross the stream, and you could. I took the picture, or he did, from the back of the train. Your engine was right there, and it was tremendous. And that was mountains. I'd never been in them before like that. Of course, I'd say Flying Pikes Peak, but then we went out to ranch.
Yeah.
And I never was in a place like that before either. I wasn't a country girl. I lived in a country town, but I didn't ever live on a farm. Here I was 20 miles from town, and not a, well, there was just a very few little trees planted around the house, and they didn't live very long.
Those were trees that had been planted as a windbreak there.
Yeah, but they didn't live. They had awful time raising any trees.
There were no water.
And the house was, actually it was a better house, I think, than I grew up in. We were not flush at all. Nobody was those days. And when we moved out there, the house was plastered. Our house was plastered back in Kansas too. And here we had a windmill. Didn't have to pump. And here there was an elevated tank, and it brought the water into the house. And there was a pipe that took it out. I don't know where that went. Do you?
I think it just ran out on the ground. I don't think there was a septic tank or anything of that sort. We didn't have any bathroom. We only.
But we didn't have any soggy place either.
No. Well, maybe it had a dry well, but the only drain that I remember is the sink in the
That's the
in
only
the porch.
one we had, because that's the only place the water was.
Yeah.
No electricity. I didn't have electricity in Irving. And we didn't have water into the house like that in Irving.
Didn't have any indoor toilets or anything of that sort
No.
in those days.
And wasn't no wood to burn. We had to burn coal. And sometimes, you know, Vern used to take a wagon later when we had, it was later years, he used to go 15 miles over to kind of a peak.
It was a soft coal outcropping up
Yeah.
near Deer Trail. I can't remember what the name of the place was, but we used to take
Bunch of men would go in a day and load everybody's wagon and take a whole day for them to go and get back.
That's right.
It used to take us.
That was after we left the ranch, as I remember, though. I don't remember doing it.
That was at the ranch.
Did it at the ranch? Well, we did it, the only ones that I remember myself were after we moved to the Farrell place.
I don't remember that.
Well, I do remember that. But I suppose that, I'm not surprised that you did it at the ranch, because you had to have coal that you either got.
We always hauled from town. Took a day to get to town with a team of horses, and that's the way we traveled for about a year. And then we got a Ford.
Mother,
What?
why don't you tell us a little bit about your early days in Colorado and when your children began to come?
Well, I was there a little while before the children began to come. And, oh, I learned to be a cowboy. I didn't rope any animals or anything like that, but I rode a lot of horses.
Yeah.
And I rode horseback to a lot of the neighbor girls to get them music lessons, and they had different ones came to the house, so I gave a lot of lessons. And then in due time, the first summer though, Vern had acute appendicitis. And in those days they had to stay in the hospital 3 weeks. And the closest hospital was Denver.
That's 90 miles away.
90 miles away. And so his mother went with us on the train. We had to go. Well, someone had to take me into town. I don't know how he got there. But I couldn't go. Some neighbor had to take me into town, so we had to go in. And get on the 3 o'clock train in the morning. Mother tried to get the doctor to say it wasn't, he didn't have to have it. But the doctor insisted he should go and have it. He had appendicitis, that's what he said. So we went to the hospital, all 3 of us. And we walked into the reception room, and the receptionist says, which one's the patient? Vern was the one carrying the suitcases. And he stepped forward and said he was. So we went, and it was acute appendicitis, and the doctor was glad that he'd stuck to his word. Anyway, he had to stay there 3 weeks. I went home. And while he was gone, it was in June. I had my garden in, and we had a snow.
In June?
Yes, the 10th of June. And the snow was about 4 inches deep. I had my tomato plants and everything. Yeah. But you know, it didn't freeze them. Just all melted away.
When was it that you went to Lyman and got, or to Denver and got the piano and the clock?
August, and in October they shipped their cattle, and that's when the money came in.
Uh-huh.
And then we went and got the piano and the clock and our silverware and our sewing machine with the wedding money that we had got.
Now, that was the year before he had appendicitis.
That was in October, and it was the next June that he had appendicitis.
I see.
And then in November 1918, when the flu epidemic was so bad all over, a grant was due, and so Vern's folks wanted me to come into town because they didn't want me to be sick out in the country. So they had me in town before Grant was born in their house. So was you. So were you.
I know, but had winter really come when Grant was born in November? Hadn't really come hard winter yet.
Then in April, when it was time for you, they insisted I'd come in too. So on Sunday morning, I was feeling fine, or I didn't say otherwise. And they all went to Sunday school and church, and I did the dishes and cleaned the house. And they had gone to Gladys's school. She was teaching out in Walks Camp. Last day picnic. And they had taken cabbage salad and they'd left some for me, and I thought I was having gas pains from that. So I wasn't going to tell them anything about it. And it got worse and worse. And the folks came home from church and they brought the mail, and I had the Irving leader and I held it up in front of my face and was reading it. Mom says, "Is there something the matter with you?" I said, "Yes." Well, Grant's was such a long delivery, and so I wasn't afraid. So Vern had called that morning and said he was coming in on horseback. Well, how many hours would that take?
Well, it's 20 miles, and on horseback, I suppose it would be at least 4 or 5 hours.
5 or 6, maybe. Well, anyway, here he was, somewhere in the middle between the ranch and the home. Folks all came from church, as I said. It was at the dinner table that I was reading the paper, or around the table. So Mother rushed me into her room. It's just off the dining room. And we tried to fix the bed. I never did get my clothes off. Came in such a hurry. And I was in town, so I'd be close to the doctor. But the doctor was out to 20 miles another way and helping somebody else, because I hadn't called anybody in the morning. And he didn't come. So Margaret went after him, and the doctor's daughter took her. No, she took the doctor's daughter, and some of their sweet boyfriends shot the tire or something. They had to come back and got something else and went out. And they got out with those days, didn't go to the house fair, but had a nurse come to your house. Well, they went out to get the nurse. And the nurse was stuck in her yard in the mud. And Daddy took the pickup and went out to get Vern. I don't think they got stuck in the mud. They all of them got there 2 hours after you were born.
That was on Palm Sunday, too.
Mother got panicky, her eyes just got like that. And she called the doctor's wife. The doctor's wife didn't know anything more than Mother did. She came and they managed to cut the cord. The doctor was a matter and a half.
Yes.
And I said to him when he came in, I said, "This is a pretty time of day for you to come." He just like that, fit. Anyway, everything turned out all right. And though, again, I had to stay 2 weeks. What they always said. Well, anyway, then I had, of course, first baby was a boy. That's fine. The next one we want a girl, and it was a boy. The third baby we want a girl, and it was a boy. And the fourth baby we wanted a girl, and another boy. I said, oh, good, we'll have a male quartet. That's how come we had the male quartet. Anyway, it was fine. Then later, of course, we had the 2 girls. But, talking about rattlesnakes, we had a garden. Vern put a stile over the fence for me, wasn't that kind? I had to climb up over that fence. We didn't want to put a gate in. A week in the fence.
Yeah.
So we put a stile over. So
that was south of the house.
Yeah,
south
right
of the ranch house. Yeah. I remember that style.
And so I couldn't take the baby buggy in the garden.
Oh.
I had to leave the baby buggy on the outside and by the stile. I did. And one time I came back and there was a rattlesnake going all around his baby buggy. He was in a baby buggy.
Was in the baby buggy?
No, he wasn't in it. It's all around it.
I see.
Oh,
I'd never heard that story before.
Haven't you?
Mm-mm.
And then later, when I guess you were a baby, I don't think John had come along yet. No, I know he hadn't. You and Grant were the only ones, because John was born in up the next house. First thing when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, I had a crop of string beans that had to be canned, and I went out to the garden and got them picked, and brought them to the front porch. If we had a stoop, I guess that's what they call it, about 2 by 5 feet, and one of the boards was broken. Shouldn't have been there, but it was. And so I had you boys with me to help me stem the beans, or anyway, just to be with me. And I poured the bucket of beans onto this stoop, and you sat on one side of it, and I sat on the other. You kids sat on one side. And when we got to the last of the beans, we had to reach down and pick up those that fell in. And there was a rattlesnake.
And he buzzed.
So, that was a pretty close call. Then another time I saw one north of the house, right north of the house. I got a hole quick, got rid of him.
Chopped him in 2.
And then another time by the windmill. And one time when I went down to go into the cellar, right on the ledge, there was someone just opened the door and there he was. Oh, one time when Vern was fixing the fence, I mean the windmill, well, he wasn't up on the windmill, he was down in the well. He got there and they found a rattlesnake down there. I think there was a nest right up there around that tank house.
There might have been. I know that down where our alfalfa patch was, there must have been a nest down there, because we used to, when we would mow the alfalfa, they would come up over the top of the wheels.
I know.
It wasn't a very pleasant thing.
I know. You remember how Carl, wasn't Carlo, it was Shep.
It was Shep.
It used to kill the rattlesnakes.
Oh, yes.
Go round and round until when they jump, the snake would
strike at him.
And Carl would keep on until he got him tired of striking, and then he'd grab his tail
and snap his head off.
And the head would fly around.
Yeah.
So one of you kids went.
Well, for as many rattlesnakes as there were in that country, though, we didn't hear too much of people getting bit.
Well,
it happened, but not.
You maybe didn't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a woman, Mrs. Smith was her name. She got bit on the instep. And the way they did was to suck blood out as quick as they could. And then there was another place I heard of, I was out there, that a person had put the child's bed out to sun, out to air, and put it back on the bed, and the child was bitten and killed. One night, well, one day I had gone to Ladies' Aid of the Methodist Church in Wyman with Mother when Grant was just well, you were smaller, but he was about 3 or 4 years old. And at that time he had learned to sing Peggy O'Neill. And he sang it all the way through, and Mother asked me to have him sing it for the ladies. And they just loved it so much. They were going to have a program to make some money in the Opera House. And so they asked if he would sing. I'd have him sing a solo in the program. So one rainy night, it rained that night, we came in the car, and he sang a song 4 pages long. It was a nice song. It's a waltz song. Fairy Waltz was the name of it. And he knew the words, and I wouldn't let any of you perform unless you knew your thing well. So he sang it. Well, first we went into town, and here was this opera house full of lights. The whole thing, he hadn't even seen an electric light before that. Maybe he had seen it at Mother and Daddy's, but we didn't have them. And we went in, here was a great big room full of lights and full of people. We sat down toward the front and waited our turn. Arrangements were all made, and he came to me, he says, "Mother, do I have to?" And I said, "Yes, you do have to." I thought, I knew he was scared to death, but I thought if I don't make him do this may ruin him for his life, that he would always be afraid of a crowd. So he got up there and he told me this winter how scared he was. Yeah. He got up there and he knew his piece so well, and he sang it just fine. He didn't make any mistakes, and he gained confidence as he got through it because he knew he was doing all right, and he could tell that the crowd was with him. So they applauded, and he went back up, and we had an encore ready. Robin, bobbin, bent his bow, shot at the robin and killed a crow. And he made the motions and everything through it. Oh, and they just thought that was great. So he overcame the fear that day, right there. Well, anyway, it went from there on, but we did have the male quartet. And we sang a lot of places. You remember how Vern used to spank George to make him sing his part? He was a little kid. And he was carrying the air. And he got mad and wasn't going to do it. Vern spanked him. He had to stand up there and sing. That was at home, though.
Yeah, it was at home.
Yeah, that was at the Maynard place. I remember that so clear. Well, anyway. Then later, we had the 2 girls. We lost a girl before these 2. And then we had to send Grant away to high school. He was only 12 years old. He was 11 years old and 12 in November, and he was a freshman in high school. I had started him at home. I didn't think I could teach beginners. I didn't want to talk in school. But I did. I had some help. I taught him. My mother was there. Vern was out threshing wheat and all around the country. He'd get home on Saturday nights. My mother would do the work, and I'd do the chores, and then I'd come in and have a morning session with Grant and taught him how to read. And he took it to it like duck to water, and he just learned so fast. And we did spelling, and we did arithmetic, and did reading. Didn't do much writing in the shows. His writing isn't very good yet.
It's worse now than it was 40 years ago.
Well, he's a doctor now.
Yeah, I see.
Anyway. Anyway, the reason I had taught him is because you had to have 3 students within 2 miles to get one of the schoolhouses moved close enough to you. There were about 7 schoolhouses in our district, 1-room schools. And they moved them around. They got them up on a wagon, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 wagons.
Well, those are big dollies.
And moved the schoolhouses to the places where they needed them. And Grant was the only one. So they did, and he would have had to have gone, I guess, about 3 or 4 miles.
I don't know where the other school was.
Well, it was the same schoolhouse you went to after we went to the Farrell place. And we were up under the hill. So it was to Houston's anyway, from our place. It was too far. He was not quite 6. He wasn't 6 until November. And he would have had to have ridden a horse and have gotten off of that horse and opened the gate and shut the gate and then gotten back on the horse, and I think he couldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't think he could, and then the storms might have been so bad for him to go to, so we didn't send him then. So he was 8 years old and this person that Lee's going to go see in Sun City, near Phoenix, was Lee's and Grant's first real teacher. Grant's too. But he was well enough advanced. When he started school, he was ready for the 3rd grade, and being the only one in the grade, they let him go she let him go as fast as he wanted to, and he covered the 3rd and 4th grades. He was up in spelling and reading and arithmetic. Writing was the thing that was behind. And he read a long time before he went to school, to just read and enjoy and laugh and cry over the stories, you know. He'd read to me while I was doing my work. Well, anyway, what was I telling? I'm off the track. What was I telling?
Talking about the schools, I guess. And when they...
Well, then they moved, finally, we moved around and the schools moved around too.
Okay, I got a question to ask. I thought they moved that school down to where it was just before we went there, or was it the fact that we moved over to the Farrell house, which was closer to the school?
That's it.
Is that what happened? Okay.
But we could have gone from the ranch house too, you could have. By the time...
Well, we did the last part of that year.
But that time, it was still as far away as the one would have been under the...
From the hill.
Yeah, but you had the teacher with you to open and shut the gates.
Yeah.
1-room schoolhouse, burned coal.
That schoolhouse is still standing. It's setting right where Uncle Ira's sod house was now. Just a mile north of where it was when we last attended it.
Been made into a dwelling.
Yes, they cut it. They cut one door. You know, there were 2 windows on each side of that house, and they have made one window a little longer than the original window and cut a door between them. And that's about the only difference that you can see.
They've added a lean-to, have they?
No, the entryway, which was on the end of the house, is still there.
Oh.
There's a little lean-to behind it, but it's not attached to the house.
Well, did they make that into 2 rooms to live in?
I didn't get close enough to see inside of it. I don't know.
How big was that room?
I would guess it was approximately 12 or 14 feet by 20 feet, something of that order of magnitude.
Well, it could have been 2 rooms. They could have made 2 rooms out, but they couldn't have been very large.
No.
But then it could have been.
Okay, Mother, you're going to tell us about feeding your hungry group?
Okay. Well, you know, in those days, there weren't any bakeries. I was just a young bride. I don't know how to make pies, hardly. I know how to make cake, and I know how to make bread, and I learned how to make biscuits and pancakes and cornbread and everything. And we ground their own wheat a lot of the time and ground our own corn. Do you remember that?
I remember the mills, but I think you also sent some to the mill in town to have it ground into.
No.
We always did it ourselves.
And cornmeal too.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
we had one of these mills that we fastened a horse to, and he ran around and around and around and poured the milk grain in the top and the flour come out the bottom. A burr mill it was called.
Was it?
A burr mill.
Was it?
Yes. But that's not the same kind. That's not that's not the same kind of a burr stone that you talk about. These were steel burrs.
Yes, I know they were. Oh, they were like cogs, almost. Yeah. Well, anyway, when we were married, Burns folks wanted to know what we wanted, a stove or a kitchen cabinet for the wedding present. I said, oh, a kitchen cabinet, because we have to have a stove. We got that anyway. So we got a stove, and they got the kitchen cabinet. And in that kitchen cabinet, there was a drawer for flour and a drawer above it for bread, and a door with a shelf and with a pocket on the door for lids. And above it, that was for pans, and above it was a shallow drawer for kitchenware, and above were 4 drawers, rather small drawers, and had our tableware in those, and the cookbooks in one. I can't remember what was in the other 2. And then below that, those drawers were little kind of bins for sugar or whatever. And then in the center there was a rack that held coffee and tea and baking powder and soda and so forth.
And 2 glass doors above.
The dishes were in.
With the dishes were in, yeah.
And so all the flour went through that drawer, and that drawer would hold 50 pounds. And I used that cabinet from the time we were married until we moved into the house in 1916, until we moved into our new house in 1948 in Idaho. I used that for my flour bin all those years. How many is that? 32 years. 32 years. And Vern and I just wondered how much flour had gone through that bin. So I figured it took one of those 50-pound sacks of flour every week.
50 pounds a week.
And he used to I think maybe I'm exaggerating that, though. I don't know. I don't think I am.
Well, I wouldn't think you'd exaggerate.
Oh, no, I wouldn't exaggerate. And in the back porch, in our house, we had a three-cornered shelf. We had a shelf up there, and Vern put 100 pounds of flour up there. About 300 pounds of flour and 200 pounds of sugar. Every fall.
And before the storms came.
Before the storms came. So, because the storms would come sometimes, and the storms weren't like they are in Idaho.
No.
They were blizzards. And sometimes you'd be closed in for weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. And so we had those. I didn't drink coffee. He drank coffee, but we always had coffee in there. So we figured donuts and cakes and pies and bread and biscuits and pancakes and whatever, everything to bake. There were no bakeries. And besides, we were 20 miles from them. And you figure that 40 tons went through that. And I don't think it's exaggerated at all.
Okay.
And 20 tons is a train load of flour.
I
need a train car. If anybody just stacked that up in front of me and told me you're going to bake that in your lifetime, I told you, I'd have told them, you just see. But I did. Anyway, there were no bakeries. And if there were, we couldn't have afforded it, because I made 8 loaves at a time, 2 or 3 times a week, and it'd be gone. And Grant asked me when I was up there last time, what was that kind of bread that I used to cook on top of the stove and then turn it over and cook on it? He said, were those scones or a French English muffins or something? I said, no, I don't know that they were. I was just getting something fast for you to eat.
I remember those, but I don't know what we ever called them.
I didn't know what to call them, but they are like.
Probably sinkers.
But they weren't. They weren't that.
Well, now go away from the ranch a little bit now to after you moved or about the time we moved to Idaho.
Well, let's talk about the weather. Both girls were born. Well, we moved, started to say Grant went to high school.
Yeah.
And had to earn his way, worked for his room and board, and he was 12 years old. Worked on a farm and worked his room and board and went to school and got good grades. But we thought, my land, the rest of you are going to be in high school pretty soon. We'll be sending all of our children away from home. We want you at home ourselves. So we gave up the old ranch and then moved closer to town. That's when we moved.
Well, by this time the ranch was not yours anymore anyway. You were really renting it, weren't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't ever ours.
Yes.
Vern's folks. Well, we moved. That was the day we moved. I had to move with a wagon.
Yes.
Hayrack.
Yes.
Except we had 100 winter pigs. We were expecting them to bring us some money. And we had 100 winter pigs. We were going to fatten them out. We had the feed and everything. Moved down to this place for about 4 miles east of Lima. And John said we got cholera and had to burn those pigs. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
I didn't remember it, and that often I don't remember it, but actually I never did count on a cent from our farming.
No, I remember at that move, actually, Grant and I, and I'm not sure, John, was it John? No, it was just Grant and I drove the cattle from the ranch to the old Maynard place. Well, this had to be at least 25 miles in one day. We drove, it must have been about 50 head of cattle.
I don't know whether it was that many.
Well, that was all our whole Ayrshire herd. And we had two saddle horses. One of them was Valentine, and I can't remember what the other one was. Was it the one that Granddaddy had left us?
Trixie.
Trixie.
Oh, yeah. And so we had to burn that whole bunch of hogs.
Yeah. And then we all got quarantined, and you couldn't sell your milk and cream.
No eggs.
Nor eggs.
So I made cheese.
So you made cheese.
Made cheese. Cheddar cheese. It was good too. But we couldn't sell anything or give it away. We were quarantined for 4 months.
Yes. We'd never been exposed to any of the childhood diseases because we were all 20 miles from town. And the minute we hit town, we came down with it. One would bring home smallpox and
measles first.
Measles first, and then that
Mumps.
ran through the 6 kids, and then mumps goes through the 6 kids, and we moved in early October or November, maybe just before school.
No, we moved in May, March. March is the moving day.
Okay, then but we did attend the school.
Oh yeah.
And I think from the time we got there until the end of school, we must not have been there very many days in school.
Was that right?
Well, we were quarantined all the time.
Oh, yes. Oh, that was the next year. Well, we moved in March, and then on the 17th of December, clear around to December, Elizabeth came down with the smallpox. And the smallpox.
And that's when you were just ready to deliver Catherine.
Well, I had delivered in November.
I thought you said in November.
Well, Elizabeth came in December, the 17th of December.
Okay.
Just a week before Christmas. What? And you remember Elizabeth sucked her thumb all the time, and we could not break her of sucking her thumb. And we had that room that we could shut off. Vern had scarlet fever instead of smallpox.
Okay.
Vern had scarlet fever, so he was going to be quarantined in with her. Shut them up in that room and isolate them. And he couldn't break her of it, but you know, at Christmas time, they brought a bushel basket of treats and presents from the church. And for Elizabeth, there was a little bit of a ring with a red satin on it. And she was so thrilled about that. And Vern said, no, you can't have it. As long as you suck your thumb, you can't have it. So he hanging up on a nail. And you know, that broke her.
Poor kid.
Broke her anyway. I bet she remembers it. I bet she remembers that because I know.
Maybe that's why she likes rings so much now.
Well, she always was liked it.
Yeah.
Also, those things.
Mother, tell them about the washing facilities. I remember helping to push the hand washing machine.
Yeah.
And I remember well the day that Dad brought home a fancy new washing machine with a gas motor on it.
I should say the dance all over the kitchen floor. Well, it was a wonderful thing, though. And
you didn't have it in the kitchen floor.
It was in the porch.
Well, okay. We put it outside, though, most of the time.
Did we? Okay, well, that was kind of a bother to carry it back and forth.
Yeah.
I know it was. But sometimes we had it inside. But we had to put the exhaust out the door. You know? Oh, that was a wonderful thing. Well, you know, I had to heat the water in a wash boiler on the stove. We burned coal. And boil the clothes and go through a lot of things. Had a hand wringer. Oh, a hand wringer, I think that's what you call it, because the Maytag ran by itself. But you know, I think I was pretty fortunate didn't get any of your kids' hands caught in those ringers.
I don't know about you being fortunate, but we were fortunate.
Yeah, you bet you were. Because, you know, Bill has also part of his on that way.
Yeah, well, we had a hand wringer on the old wooden washing machines that we did this way, but of course you had an automatic wringer on the Maytag.
That's right, that's right. But I did a lot of washing in the scrub board.
Mm-hmm.
And then I run that out by hand. Oh, well, I didn't do very much of that. A lot of people did it all together. I didn't do very much of that. I did most of it with the washing machine.
Mm-hmm.
Let somebody else run it. Yeah. Then I guess at the Maynard place, we had a cat. Elizabeth was born at the ranch.
Yes.
And then she was the only one that was born at the ranch.
She was the only one born in that house, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Catherine was born at the Maynard place.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved closer to town when Vern got that job working on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And lived there. And then it began to bowl dirt.
Dust bowl.
Yeah, this was maybe 2 years, or 32 or 33, when this began to bowl.
Yeah.
And it just made the skies black, and the dirt and the dust would come in, just cover the floor, just layers of it. And do you remember? Tell me about the cars, how it...
Oh, yes. The sand blew so hard that it would frost the windshields.
Hmm.
You couldn't see through. We were living out south of town in that old sand pile. Do you remember? And Dad had us digging that well. I don't know how we ever managed, but we went down into the well, and we were piling rocks around to keep the sand from collapsing on us. So we had to go and get rocks, and there wasn't many rocks around this way. So we went out to that hill north of the Morrissey's place on one day with the wagon, a team and wagon, to get rocks. And we filled our wagon with rocks and started back just about the time one of these dust storms hit. And it blew so hard you simply couldn't see to drive the team. And we just curled up down into the wagon and let the team take us home. And when we got home, the car, we had this old 27 Chevrolet. It was sitting out there in the yard, and you could no more see through that windshield than you could.
Mm-hmm.
It was just gone.
Do you remember that the wind blew the thistles into the fences, and then the dust blew over, and the dust piled right clear over the fence? Hills.
The thistles would hang up in the fence, and that was just enough of a windbreak so that the sand would settle out. It drifted like snow.
Dr. Kennedy told us about, after we moved out here, they wrote about a blizzard dust storm they had.
Yes, yes, and a lot of cattle were actually smothered with that.
I know.
The snow was wet enough to make the mud stick to the cattle, and they were just actually smothered. But the dust bowl really was coming on quite a bit before that, because in 28 and 29 and 30, about the time that Elizabeth was born, we had about 3 years that we didn't even get our seed back from farming on the ranch.
Oh, I can't remember. It was so much. We had so much of that. I can't remember.
Oh, it was a hard time.
Oh, but we're here.
Yes, we are. We survived it.
Well, the Dust Bowl was so bad that we finally decided we'd have to move somewhere. Could not make a living there anymore. We hardly made a living anyway. And Vern decided he wanted to go to Idaho. He had a cousin that had lived in Idaho, and she told about one potato that they grow that they'd grow potatoes, that one potato would feed a whole family. And that's...
Which cousin was this?
Well, you never met her. Anna Mae French was her name.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought he wanted to go there before. But Daddy didn't want him to leave him. So then the folks came through. They were going to go on a vacation with Margaret and Royal. The spring before we did move out, we waited for Grant to graduate from high school. And they came the year before. They were going to go out northwest to look the country over, but they were going to move from the Lee Road down into the Ozarks.
I see.
Over said, we're going to go west. And so when they came out to look it over, they bought on the spot.
Both Granddaddy and Uncle Royal and Aunt Margaret bought adjacent plots just west of Post Falls.
That's right. So then...
Now that was in 1933.
That's right.
And that's the same year, actually, that Gladys and Julian moved to New York.
Maybe so.
Yes. And then the next year we moved out with, well, Uncle Royal and Aunt Margaret didn't move in 33,
That's
but
right.
Granddaddy and Grandmother did, I think. And then actually we moved out with Margaret and Royal on the emigrant car.
We brought our things on the emigrant car.
Right.
They did too.
Yes.
And Grant and Royal, as you remember, rode the emigrant car.
Yes.
And Margaret had a pass on the railroad.
And she took Elizabeth.
And she took Elizabeth. And the rest of us went in the car.
1929 Chevrolet.
It wasn't any good anyway. Remember, we shimmied all the way in the Yellowstone Park.
Oh, yes.
Had a terrible time.
Catherine was 18 months old, and remember how she would, you were trying to get everybody to see everything that we were going along. It wasn't long before Catherine was pushing your face to the window saying, see, see, see. It's amazing, though, that Catherine remembers the pitcher pump in the Maynard house when she was not 8 months old when we moved away from that house. Mm-hmm. I don't know how she can remember things like that. Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead. What about your life in Idaho?
Are we there now?
We're there now.
Oh. Well, in Idaho. Yeah. Well, we arrived with that emigrant car. We didn't get there. The emigrant car came later. We had $25. And when the emigrant car came, it was overweight, and it took $12 to get it out of Hawk. And
would have taken more if we hadn't fixed it a little bit.
Unloaded it a little, huh?
Yeah, we took two loads of stuff out of it in the middle of the night and carried it out of the...
And on the way home, Grant went to sleep.
That's right.
Woke up in the middle of the field of rocks.
Yeah.
We missed those rocks.
We didn't miss them.
Didn't.
No, but we didn't hit one straight on.
Anyway. Then we had to feed the family of 6 on $12.50 in a town that didn't know us from Adam. But the first thing we did, elbows sticking out and everything else, our clothes weren't even there. You see, they were on the immigrant train. We went to church. We went to church. And of course they didn't notice us the first Sunday. Next Sunday we went to church. And this is our habit of going to church. And so there were some people there that began to notice. Turned around and asked, Vern said, did you ever sing in the church choir? Oh, Vern said, oh, many times. And of course we were all singing. Well, there were 2 people in that church that were there. There were storekeepers, Webster and Evelyn. And so they gave us credit. So that's the way we got along. In the first year we looked around to see how we were going to make a living out there, because it was entirely different than it was at home. There was hardly any land, and it was irrigated, and we didn't want to irrigate. And we were looking, Vern was looking for a wheat ranch. I'm awful glad he didn't get it. You'd all have been farmers.
You never can tell about that.
Well, you'd have been serfs anyway. Anyway, what was I talking about?
Looking for a place. Dad looking for a place to buy.
He was looking over the blues. And you know, Mr. Weather and Mr. Kildall found a place that they thought would be just fine for us over at Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't tell us. They didn't want us to move.
They didn't want you to move.
Oh, the nicest people in Post Falls, I tell you. Nicest place to live. I mean, the best people. They really were. They were just outstanding. They took us right in like we were somebody and we didn't have a cent.
Throwing the wood from the tractor. Bye, John. Down the chute into the basement. And that's where it gets stuck. We'll see that after a while. Here we go. Here's John. Here's Johnny. Our kids are in the hayloft. Come on, let us know what's going on in there. Say hello.
Hello.
There's Andrew and Rachel and Erica and Josh. Back there's Chris. Way up there is Sarah.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi there, cutie. Look what we got here. Okay, go ahead and play. Thank you. So that we can stack it up. What?
You need to get a better strip.
A strip of what?
All right, let's go.
Some wood. Elizabeth. Hello. And Tim. Look at that strong guy. What? Oh, yes. Oh. This is work. This is work. Okay, what do we got back here? Oh, look at those workers. Back here? Carolyn and Mary.
Can you get it in the dark back here?
Well, we're going to try.
Why don't you put that camera down and come out myself?
Yeah, a little while.
Faust wanted you to get some pictures of the kids in the barn.
Oh, I did. I read her mind.
I want to do this part.
And our ace roving reporter.
Yes, you bet.
Kermit.
The mini cam.
I'm still more creative.
Well, this is what this is all about today. Stacking it up. Youngest and the oldest.
I think she likes to go.
Here's Grant, direct from the Tri-Cities. Not to mention Sandpoint. Is that where you guys live now?
No, it isn't.
Lee?
Diamond Lake. No.
Diamond Lake?
Diamond Lake.
I'm sorry, my mistake.
Sandpoint is
Say hello to the camera.
40 miles behind.
Yeah, we came from
Okay.
Sandpoint, and I was thinking, good.
Marge?
Did you take the road going by the river?
And here's Elizabeth, a smiling face.
Sorry, Debbie.
What?
There's no Kimberly here today.
Kimberly?
Okay.
Why did you hear somebody in
Ted Stanridge.
Oh, this is on tape. Should stay here.
college mates of ours.
There we go.
Hi, Corinne. You got some sun.
Yeah, a little bit. Our color coordinated and everything.
Yes.
I was reading this poem.
There's Carolyn looking on the sliver. Hello.
It's called a warm. It's called a warm.
There's that baby.
We need to get this thing back further.
Talk to him.
Rod?
Hi, guys.
Oh, we got another camera crew here. I love it.
What's that?
I gotta back it. Let me back it up further.
Okay.
Back up so you can see.
I had a fun time last night.
You can go over here and look at Grandma's garden. This way.
You need to direct me. I can't.
Hello. Awful close to me, isn't it? Look at the garden.
And there's the chicken house in the background.
And the barn.
And the barn.
There's Cindy and Marie. Oh, the clan. Chris, you smile pretty. Look into the camera. Oh, there's Lee.
Oh, you want to go bye-bye? Let's go bye-bye. Men, bye-bye. Okay, here we go.
She couldn't get the slide film.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah?
Lee swings in one arm, hangs the other one just as limp as...
Oh, hello, Chris. Smile. This is posterity talking. Okay, don't wave then.
We'll leave that to the Russells.
Hi, Uncle Grant.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, that's right. We've got a number of waves today.
Four of us are doing anything. Only four of us are doing anything.
Soon she will be.
We love Grandma, so we're doing this for her.
Well, and the thing is, I have to get this on tape because I had to erase what I had before, and then I will put it down and come home. How's that? Trust me.
So your daughter's going to get in on it.
There's Tim. Okay. Oh.
It's really gnarly.
Oh.
It's so gnarly.
Oh. Shoo.
Rocky. Oh, yeah. Loggy.
Yes.
Loggy. This is Loggy 25.
Yes. Store date.
Revenge of the tick. Revenge of the tick. Revenge of the woodchuck.
And this is where the wood goes that we saw cutting up and being shot down the chute. And that's Chris. Smiling face, she's always wanted to be in the movies. And there's Elizabeth. Martha Todd. Getting resting from after the hard work. Say hello to the cameraman. Hello, cameraman.
You don't have to have constant frenetic motion.
Oh, yes.
Here comes the motion.
Look at that. There's some people playing. My apologies for the movement. I haven't perfected the glide yet.
Boy, if you go down, they're over there in the hill. Oh, well, don't go out of there. Oh.
Need to make coffee, or is that full?
Here's a cucumber. See, notice the seeds?
Does that make sound?
Yeah, it picks up every single sound you make, including the ones I make. So let's be very, very courteous to one another.
Here's Elizabeth. You can get a cucumber.
Yes, yes.
Oh, did you see this yummy salad? See the yummy salad?
Oh, look at that. We eat good tonight.
This is Leah's toy.
Okay. Thank you very much. And there's great grandma. Oh, smile for camera.
I think I'll just put the dressing separate because here's the
Here's our plate.
You're being put on television.
Well,
this is for posterity.
Who's going to show us?
Oh, I suppose she will.
Yeah, we're going to make tapes of this if you'd like one. This is for posterity. Now, you of all people should appreciate that, Ruth.
Is it sound as well?
At every sound you make.
So if you speak, you can write down.
I suggest courtesy.
Don't be too blunt.
Really. And here we have
our city mayor.
The camera.
Yes, you're
going to the table.
Going to the table.
Yes, indeed. And here's the clock.
Hold on here.
Okay. The clock from 1916. Oh, no, this is private. This is closed caption. And then behind these lovely people is the clock that Lee made.
How about that?
All by himself.
That's for Elizabeth's birthday, Christmas.
Let's go! You got one? You got a whole bunch of people getting you and Rod and her and
Nice to see you, Margaret.
They almost missed it. Mm-hmm. They got it.
You got her. Keep her.
Oh. Camera running. Hello.
I didn't even know.
I don't think anybody's cried and carried on. Oh, I do.
And here we have the swinging lesson.
Hey, Paul!
Happy birthday, Mike.